On March 10, 2019, at 5:38 UTC, Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302, Boeing 737-8, ET-AVJ, took off from Addis Ababa Bole Int, airport bound to Nairobi, Kenya. Joma Kenyatta Int, airport. Shortly after takeoff, the angle of attack sensor recorded value became erroneous and the left stick shaker activated and remained active until near the end of the flight. In addition, the airspeed and altitude values from the left air data system began deviating from the corresponding right side values. Due to flight control problems, the captain was unable to maintain the flight path and requested to return back to the departure airport. The crew lost control of the aircraft, which crashed at 5:44 UTC 28 nm southeast of Addis Ababa near Ejere village. The following is based on the preliminary analysis of the DFDR, CVR and ATC communications. As the investigation continues, revisions and changes may occur before the final report is published. At 5 hours, 37 minutes and 34 seconds, ATC issued takeoff clearance to ET-302 into contact radar on 119.7 MHz. Takeoff roll began from runway 7R at a field elevation of 2,333.5 mat approximately 5:38, with a flap setting of 5 degrees and a stabilizer setting of 5.6 units. The takeoff roll appeared normal, including normal values of left and right angle of attack. During takeoff roll, the engine stabilized at about 94% NL, which matched the NL reference recorded on the DFDR. From this point for most of the flight, the NL reference remained about 94%. And the throttles did not move. The NL target indicated non-data pattern 220 seconds before the end of recording. According to the CVR data and the control column forces recorded in DFDR, captain was the pilot flying. At 5 hours, 38 minutes and 44 seconds, shortly after liftoff, the left and right recorded AOA values deviated. Left AOA decreased to 11.1 deg, then increased to 35.7 deg, while value of right AOA indicated 14.94 deg. Then after, the left AOA value reached 74.5 deg in 3/4 seconds, while the right AOA reached a maximum value of 15.3 deg. At this time, the left stick shaker activated and remained active until near the end of the recording. Also, the airspeed, altitude and flight director pitch bar values from the left side noted deviating from the corresponding right side values. The left side values were lower than the right side values until near the end of the recording. At 5 hours, 38 minutes and 43 seconds and about 50 feet radio altitude, the flight director roll mode changed to LNAV. At 5 hours, 38 minutes and 46 seconds and about 200 feet radio altitude, the master caution parameter changed state. The first officer called out master caution anti-ice on CVR. 4 seconds later, the recorded left AOA heat parameter changed state. At 5 hours, 38 minutes and 58 seconds and about 400 feet radio altitude, the flight director pitch mode changed to VNAV speed and captain called out command and an autopilot warning is recorded. At 5 hours, 39 minutes and seconds, captain called out command. At 5 hours, 39 minutes and 1 seconds and about 630 feet radio altitude, a second autopilot warning is recorded. At 5 hours, 39 minutes and 6 seconds, the captain advised the first officer to contact radar, and first officer reported SHALA-2A departure crossing 8,400 feet and climbing FL 320. Between liftoff and 1,000 feet above ground level, the pitch trim position moved between 4.9 and 5.9 units in response to manual electric trim inputs. At 1,000 feet AGL, the pitch trim position was at 5.6 units. At 5 hours, 39 minutes and 22 seconds and about 1 feet the left autopilot was engaged, the flaps were retracted and the pitch trim position decreased to 4.6 units. 6 seconds after the autopilot engagement, there were small amplitude roll oscillations accompanied by lateral acceleration, rudder oscillations and slight heading changes. These oscillations continued also after the autopilot was disengaged. At 5 hours, 39 minutes and 29 seconds, radar controller identified ET-302 and instructed to climb FL 340, and when able right turns direct to RUDOL, and the first officer acknowledged. At 5 hours, 39 minutes and 42 seconds, level change mode was engaged. The selected altitude was 32,000 feet. Shortly after the mode change, the selected airspeed was set to 238 kT. At 5 hours, 39 minutes and 45 seconds, captain requested flaps up and first officer acknowledged. 1 second later, flap handle moved from 5 to 0 degrees and flaps retraction began. At 5 hours, 39 minutes and 50 seconds, the selected heading started to change from 72 to 197 degrees, and at the same time the captain asked the first officer to request to maintain runway heading. At 5 hours, 39 minutes and 55 seconds, autopilot disengaged. At 5 hours, 39 minutes and 57 seconds, the captain advised again the first officer to request to maintain runway heading and that they are having flight control problems. At 5 hours, 40 minutes and seconds shortly after the autopilot disengaged, the FDR recorded an automatic aircraft nose down activated for 9.0 seconds and pitch trim moved from 4.60 to 2.1 units. The climb was arrested and the aircraft descended slightly. At 5 hours, 40 minutes and 3 seconds ground proximity warning system don't sink alerts occurred. At 5 hours, 40 minutes and 5 seconds, the first officer reported to ATC that they were unable to maintain SHALAL and requested runway heading, which was approved by ATC. At 5 hours, 40 minutes and 6 seconds, left and right flap position reached a recorded value of 0.019 degrees, which remained until the end of the recording. The column moved aft and a positive climb was re-established during the automatic and motion. At 5 hours, 40 minutes and 12 seconds, approximately 3 seconds after and stabilizer motion ends, electric trim in the aircraft nose-up direction is recorded on the DFDR, and the stabilizer moved in the ANU direction to 2.4 units. The aircraft pitch attitude remained about the same as the back pressure on the column increased. At 5 hours, 40 minutes and 20 seconds, approximately 5 seconds after the end of the ANU stabilizer motion, a second instance of automatic and stabilizer trim occurred, and the stabilizer moved down and reached 0.4 units. From 5 hours, 40 minutes and 23 seconds to 5 hours, 40 minutes and 31 seconds, 3 ground proximity warning system don't sink alerts occurred. At 5 hours, 40 minutes and 27 seconds, the captain advised the first officer to trim up with him. At 5 hours, 40 minutes and 28 seconds, manual electric trim in the ANU direction was recorded and the stabilizer reversed moving in the ANU direction, and then the trim reached 2.3 units. At 5 hours, 40 minutes and 35 seconds, the first officer called out stab trim cut out 2 times. Captain agreed and first officer confirmed stab trim cut out. At 5 hours, 40 minutes and 41 seconds, approximately 5 seconds after the end of the ANU stabilizer motion, a third instance of an automatic trim command occurred without any corresponding motion of the stabilizer, which is consistent with the stabilizer trim cutout switches were in the cutout position. At 5 hours, 40 minutes and 44 seconds, the captain called out 3 times pull-up and the first officer acknowledged. At 5 hours, 40 minutes and 50 seconds, the captain instructed the first officer to advise ATC that they would like to maintain 14 feet and they have flight control problem. At 5 hours, 40 minutes and 56 seconds, the first officer requested ATC to maintain 14 feet and reported that they are having flight control problem. ATC approved. From 5 hours, 40 minutes and 42 seconds to 5 hours, 43 minutes and 11 seconds, the stabilizer position gradually moved in the end direction from 2.3 units to 2.1 units. During this time, aft force was applied to the control columns which remained aft of neutral position. The left indicated airspeed increased from approximately 305 kT to approximately 340 kT. The right indicated airspeed was approximately 20-25 kT higher than the left. The data indicates that aft force was applied to both columns simultaneously several times throughout the remainder of the recording. At 5 hours, 41 minutes and 20 seconds, the right overspeed clacker was recorded on CVR. It remained active until the end of the recording. At 5 hours, 41 minutes and 21 seconds, the selected altitude was changed from 32,000 feet to 14,000 feet. At 5 hours, 41 minutes and 30 seconds, the captain requested the first officer to pitch up with him, and the first officer acknowledged. At 5 hours, 41 minutes and 32 seconds, the left overspeed warning activated and was active intermittently until the end of the recording. At 5 hours, 41 minutes and 46 seconds, the captain asked the first officer if the trim is functional. The first officer has replied that the trim was not working and asked if he could try it manually. The captain told him to try. At 5 hours, 41 minutes and 54 seconds, the first officer replied that it is not working. At 5 hours, 42 minutes and 10 seconds, the captain asked, and the first officer requested radar control of vector to return and ATC approved. At 5 hours, 42 minutes and 30 seconds, ATC instructed at 302 to turn right heading 260 degrees, and the first officer acknowledged. At 5 hours, 42 minutes and 43 seconds, the selected heading was changed to 262 degrees. At 5 hours, 42 minutes and 51 seconds, the first officer mentioned master caution anti-ice. The master caution is recorded on DFDR. At 5 hours, 42 minutes and 54 seconds, Both pilots called out left alpha vane. At 5 hours, 43 minutes and 4 seconds, the captain asked the first officer to pitch up together and said that pitch is not enough. At 5 hours, 43 minutes and 11 seconds, about 32 seconds before the end of the recording, at approximately 4,002 feet, 2 momentary manual electric trim inputs are recorded in the ANU direction. The stabilizer moved in the ANU direction from 2.1 units to 2.3 units. At 5 hours, 43 minutes and 20 seconds, approximately 5 seconds after the last manual electric trim input, and an automatic trim command occurred and the stabilizer moved in the N direction from 2.3 to 1.0 unit in approximately 5 seconds. The aircraft began pitching nose down. Additional simultaneous aft column force was applied, but the nose down pitch continues, eventually reaching forward nose down. The stabilizer position varied between 1.1 and 0.8 units for the remainder of the recording. The left indicated airspeed increased, eventually reaching approximately 458 kts, and the right indicated airspeed reached 500 kts at the end of the recording. The last recorded pressure altitude was 419 feet on the left and 399 feet on the right. Aircraft flight and maintenance log. The maintenance logbook was reviewed in detail for the last 39 flights from the 26th of February 2019 until the 9th of March 2019. In addition, the records were reviewed for the 1A check conducted in early February. Over the previous 39 flights, the MLB cited in particular, Captain's flight compartment PC power outlet has no power, the crew oxygen cylinder was replaced due to low pressure, and the APU would not start. All 3 issues led to maintenance actions and did not reoccur. In addition, the MLB was reviewed at a higher level for all flights back to the delivery flight in November 2018. Maintenance actions of relevance occurred in early December 2018, and involved several write-ups involving temporary erratic airspeed and altitude fluctuations as well as a report of the aircraft rolling during autopilot operation, and altitude and vertical speed indication on the PFD showed an erratic and exaggerated indication. Maintenance actions were performed and none were reported to have reoccurred.